Good day, people. Today on HTT, we'll be discussing the colonization of Canada by the Western Bees, particularly the role of the Catholic and Protestant churches in the lives of both the colonists in New France, the First Nations, and Metis people. One of the first groups of missionaries to arrive in New France were the Jesuits, members of a religious community known as the Society of Jesus. In response to the absence of schools and the dire need of education, in 1635, the Jesuits established the only college in New France, where the sons of settlers could be educated. The Jesuits continued to encourage two orders of nuns to come to New France in 1639. The nuns opened a school for girls as well as a hospital. Above all, there are two main roles of the Catholic Church in New France. Though religious in nature, the Church helps with most of the needs of the colonists who live there. The Ursuline sisters were the first to arrive in 1639. They established the first school for French and native girls. The church also provided shelter and food. The church was also in charge of the establishment and maintenance of human hospitals and orphanages. Not to mention, they often helped the less fortunate around them and those in desperate need. Overall, the church played a vital role since they had most of the power over education, health, politics, and trade. Religion had kept the community together and aided New France to develop the way it did. Throughout the 17th century in what is today Canada, many Catholic missionaries dedicated their lives to minister to Indigenous peoples. By influencing some of the Wendat by offering guns and to trade furs gotten from the Haudenosaunee only with individuals who agreed to convert to Christianity, they caused conflict, leading the Haudenosaunee to constantly raid the Wendats, forcing them to divide. Some moved to lands around the French settlements, and some joined neighboring societies. More than 150,000 First Nations, Metis, and Inuit children went through the government-commissioned schools that for the most part were run by churches, more than 60% of which were Catholic. Residential schools were originally created to teach the Indigenous children how to read, speak, write, act, and overall be European. Churches later added the goal of bringing the Catholic and Christian faith to Indigenous children. Together, they created an underfunded system that scarred generations, separated families, and deleted identities. In an attempt to convert Indigenous peoples to the Catholic faith, Frederick Baraga wrote dictionaries and hymns in Indigenous languages. Blessed Marie de l'Incarnation and Saint Margaret Orgs established schools for Indigenous children. The churches assisted in hospitals, schools, and other forms of social services. While the fur trade was still on, Metis salesmen were influenced by the Roman Catholic Church and sometimes helped missionaries in spreading the faith of the church, telling their wives and children of our duties towards Him, making them pray as they themselves did, baptizing people in danger of death, and giving the dead a Christian burial. As early as 1822, there is evidence that the clergy, a body of people ordained for religious duties, especially in the Christian church, used their influence to manipulate Métis for political purposes. According to Stanley,
the French half-breeds could never have carried out their successful resistance had they not had the advice and support of their clergy.
So you can imagine how betrayed they felt when on March 15, 1885, Father Vital Formond, priest at Batoche, announced this message.
All who took up arms against the established authority would be refused the sacraments.
Once again, the clergy used their position as a weapon over the Métis people. Riel confronted Formond, saying, "You have turned the pulpit of truth into one of politics and falsehood, in daring to refuse the sacraments to those who would take up arms in defense of their most sacred rights. That if the priests would not sustain the people, then they'll go ahead without their priests." Despite the clergy's attempts to win over the Métis, they remained loyal to Riel. He explained their position.
Since we had begged our priests not to abandon us, but still they refused us their religious guidance, we confess to ourselves, and God forgive us if we did not have the selfishness of hiding our sins.
The clergy's representatives acted on behalf of the boost in European civilization. Their efforts to Christianize, civilize, and educate is viewed by Métis as a contribution to the development of the Northwest, and the attempt to civilize the natives for the Canadian government, not as defenders of the native culture. In the words of Howard Adams, the part played by the priests in the colonization of the native people was as destructive as that played by the soldier and the fur trader. Missionaries were extremely effective in undermining the strength and spirit of native society. The conversion to Christianity was a powerful force in the destruction of the native culture and religion. Thanks for watching.